I just, again, want to thank everybody for being here. Tonight, we're going to be talking about your guys' experience with alopecia and why CAP started, why you founded it. And I think that will get people a little bit more familiar with CAP that are maybe, a little bit more in the dark about it. And also we'll be talking about the Alopecia Roadmap, my course for parents, and your experience with that also. So this is going to be about an hour. And if you guys are interested in a replay, please comment below and we will get you that replay. And just a little bit about me. My name is Deanne Graham, and I am the author of Head On Stories of Alopecia. And I'm also the podcast host of Alopecia Life and the course creator of Alopecia Roadmap. And I've had alopecia for, 48 years now. So it's been a long time, and I've learned a lot over the years. And I found CAP maybe about 10 years ago and was really excited to see what they were offering for families who needed the support, and children who needed their confidence built after they've been diagnosed with alopecia. So was really excited to kind of collaborate with them in this effort too. So I want to just, of course, you guys don't need introduction. So Jeff and Betsy, welcome to this live. Thanks so much for being here tonight.
You're welcome.
We're happy to be here.
Thank you. And so let's start off a little bit by talking about how you became familiar with alopecia. And either one.
Yeah,
okay.
Actually, not everybody knows this story, but when we first met and we started to date, a couple dates into it, she told me, I just want you to know that I have something called alopecia and I get spots every once in a while. I just wanted to let you know that in case you saw one. And I just remember going, oh, okay. And then that was it. Didn't hear anything about alopecia until Maddie started to lose her hair in 2004. And I didn't remember, like, when she told me that back in like 1991. And then he said, you remember? And I'm like, yeah, I remember. And I didn't associate the two. So that's when I first found out about it.
So I do have alopecia areata. So I get coin-sized spots every once in a while, but I rarely get them anymore. But when I was diagnosed when I was 7, and at that time I lost about half of my hair. So, my parents took a little bit of time, but they took me to a dermatologist, and I did actually used to get injections, and they worked because I had areata. So, they were very, in very specific areas. So, so when Maddie was started to lose her hair, I was pretty familiar and pretty sure about what it was, but I did kind of have mother's instinct and knew that hers was, or mother's intuition, that hers was progressing much more quickly than mine did. And so I think I just had a feeling that it was going to be something more than just spots here and there. So, so I actually, I took her to my dermatologist, who was impossible to get in with. And so at the time, I actually lied and told him that I was coming for myself, and I just snuck Maddie in with me. And then, long story short, diagnosed with alopecia, but we ended up going to Hershey, I guess, for a second opinion, and they're more of a pediatric dermatologist. And again, we all knew what it was. Right. So, and then Maddie's hair did grow back about it started to fall out around in October, and then
we're having a little bit of a lag.
Summer, it started to grow back, and then it fell out again the following fall. Oh, Now you're moving.
Yeah. Yeah, little lag, technology stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, well, you're in Washington State and we're in Pennsylvania. It takes a
Yep.
long time. to get-
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, and I think that parents who are listening right now totally understand. They are very familiar with, their own story, and that resonates with them, right? I mean, I actually love that you lied to your doctor. Like, if it feels like the sacrifices that we make for our kids, right?
Right.
And
I needed to
we
get a ring
go,
neck. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like we go, yeah, everybody lying's the best thing, but you do what you need to do to help your
Right.
child, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and I know, Jeff, that you tell a story about how, hearing it from the doctor for the first time in front of Maddie. And I'd love to have you
Oh,
share
yeah.
that with the group. Yeah. A little bit of lag again.
Yeah, that we handled things cool and it was easy. Hard, go to the doctor, and then we're gonna go to lunch. And I remember talking about going to Chocolate World, and I just remember him saying that she's going to lose all of her hair. And this was saying other things before that, but the only thing that I comprehended was lose all of her hair. And it just freaked me out because all I was thinking is that we're just going to get some lotion. We're going to get some lotion, put it on her head, then go get lunch, and then go to Chocolate World or go ride in the country or do something. And that no longer was part of the day. And I just shut off everything. And I was really, really angry with the doctor.
Right.
And in hindsight, it was probably the best thing that a doctor could have done, because it's horrible to hear bad news and in front of your loved ones. The reality is that, and I wish more dermatologists were that straightforward and honest, so that way you can go past those 5 stages of loss and start getting back onto the track of doing the right thing for your kids.
Right.
I remember that they gave us, sorry, go ahead.
No, please go.
No, I remember that they gave us brochures, and all the kids in the pictures were completely bald, and I was thinking, why are they giving us these brochures? She's just,
and they didn't even have any cap brochures.
Not yet. They didn't.
She's, she just has areata. Why? I don't know why they're thinking the worst, but
Yeah,
they I guess
you have it.
Right.
It's going to only give you a spot.
Right. So.
Yeah. And her hair fell out pretty rapidly, though. Like you said, mother's instinct, you knew it was coming out at a rate that was faster than expected.
Yeah.
So,
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I think it's really important to talk about the resources that were available. I mean, you mentioned that you got kind of a pamphlet at the time, and that was kind of it, right? I mean, this was almost, how long ago? 20 years ago?
Yeah, almost 20, like 19 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What else was available?
Yeah, they gave us I mean, the information was great. They gave us some NAF brochures, and it was informative. We learned about what alopecia was. We saw the different types of treatments. We saw the kids with alopecia, and even though it freaked us out because there are all these bald kids, it also was showing us like what alopecia is, what you can pretty much look forward to, and maybe it won't happen, but at least we knew what could happen. And then we followed the advice, and we went to a NAF support group in Hershey, and I think we went to 2 or 3 of those, and then I went to one in Philadelphia, and I might be jumping ahead too soon, but that information was invaluable. I mean, that was great information, but the one thing that we were thinking is that, what, I really want something that's going to be more for Maddie, something that's going to make her know that all of this information is awesome, and the alternatives out there is unbelievable. But I just wanted her, actually I lie. I wanted to be better. I wanted to know that she was okay, because I could be okay, that she wouldn't blame herself, because in the beginning she was blaming herself.
Right.
That, well, it's my fault because I have alopecia and I gave it to Maddie. You know, thank God we didn't go off the deep end, because then we were able to put one and one together and move forward. And then that's why we started CAP, because we just wanted to help kids. And
we wanted Maddie to meet other kids with alopecia. And when we went to the NAF support groups, you know, it was adults, and it was mostly adults. So,
yeah, and it was great. I mean,
yeah.
They had people in there showing how to put makeup on, false eyelashes, wigs. And the women were talking about, you know, their feelings and everything. But unfortunately, there were just, all the kids that were there were the children of the women that had alopecia.
Right.
So Maddie was on the ground playing with the other kids, and I'm sitting there thinking, I'm a man. I don't get any of this. I just want her to be good.
Right.
Yeah.
What did you mean by good? I mean, what did you like? What was that word? What did that feel like for you? What it would look like?
For Maddie to be good.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I have 4 daughters. Daughters have hair. And in the beginning, all I could think about was 3 of my daughters are beautiful with long brown hair, and 1 is bald. And all I could think about was, that's not right. It shouldn't be that way. And I knew that we weren't there was no magic pill out there. And we already made the bad decision of telling her to wear a hat, which basically was saying, my 3 other daughters are perfect. They don't have to wear a hat, but you, the one that's not perfect, wear a hat, cover up, hide.
Yeah, we definitely covered it up a lot in the beginning, and then realized it was more for us than for her. Because then, you know, when she had a bandana or a hat on, we didn't have to think about how we're going to fix this. You know, we worried about other kids making fun of her or teasing her. You know, it's all, Jeff always says, it's all about just feeling normal, and it just didn't feel very normal. So
yeah, and
we only had 3 daughters.
Well, I always say 4 because I hate leaving the 1 out, because she was in her belly. So
So yeah. Betsy, you mentioned something the other day. Then I think that we can kind of, you mentioned that it would be kind of a good thing to talk about, because I think there's a very real time when our children are diagnosed with something and we will do whatever it takes, right? I mean, anybody listening is probably like, oh my gosh, I'll do whatever. And they were in that place, depending on where they are in their journey. And for you, I had never heard this story before about your desperate measure, right? You're desperate, like, okay.
Yeah, we
wait, you should have cleared this with me.
No,
I might have said
you talk about
story.
it all the time.
All right.
No, we you know, we were very young parents, and we didn't have a lot of money, but we heard that there was some type of study or something in Russia. So we were like, which one of us is going to go to?
Because we couldn't afford both of us and a child, so it was like, which one of us?
And we didn't care how much it was going to cost. We were just going to make it work, or somebody would loan us the money or whatever. We were just feeling really desperate to like figure out how to grow her hair back. So in the beginning, she, you know, we tried everything the doctor recommended, prednisone, and she didn't have injections the first time her hair fell out, but the second time it fell out slower.
But at the end of the first time, if you remember, the doctor said that, well, in Italy, a researcher found that if you wear a shower cap, that the head would start to sweat at night, which will open the pores more. So the medication that already itches her head will go deeper into her pores. And we're thinking, yeah, let's get a shower cap. So she looked like she was like one of the daughters in Little House on the Prairie, wearing a shower cap, going to bed. It's like we expected her to say goodnight, Mom, Pa, but she hated it. And it used to it used to give her a red line around her head. And I'm thinking a red line around her head is worse than her hair loss.
Yeah.
And she's the one that eventually said she didn't want to wear it.
And then she was taking the prednisone, but she was too young to swallow a pill. So she had to take like a lot of, the teaspoon thing. And she would take like
her face
4
blew up a little bit
teaspoons
more.
and it tasted disgusting. And then finally she said, I don't want to take that anymore. So then, we were learning from her, when too much was too much.
Definitely.
Enough was enough.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to tell the parents who are listening right now. Yeah. I mean, you guys totally did it. You went through it, those stages of like, oh, we got to do everything, because what if, I hear this a lot when working with clients, is that they're like, what if we don't try something and my child like resents it, as they get older. And so that's a very real feeling too.
Right. Or that was the one thing that was going to work and you didn't try it. Right.
Yeah. And a lot of times parents want me to tell them that what they're doing is right, or what could they do that's differently. And I learned from the very beginning, and our medical director said this, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing to say. And I stole it from him. I kind of own it now, but it's just simple. If the treatment is worse than the alopecia, stop. If it's not, keep doing it. I mean, because I don't know anything about it. I don't know what causes it. I don't know what's going to cure it. No one else does either. So if it's worse than the alopecia, and alopecia is painless, it's not contagious, no one's ever going to die from it. Anything that's worse than just nothing is worse than the alopecia. So just stop if it's worse. So
yeah. And I think that, what were some other feelings when Maddie was young that kind of you guys went through? I mean, there's that feeling of desperation, but a lot of the things I hear from parents are fear. They're worried about
we have no control over it.
Yeah, control, big one, right?
If the kids get a boo-boo, we give them a Band-Aid and kiss it and make it better, and then they feel like they were taken care of and they go about their day. Well, with Maddie, she had a boo-boo that was all over her head, and we couldn't do anything about it. And you just feel helpless.
And we were afraid for her future, if she was, going to have friends and going to go to the prom and have a boyfriend and, go to college, have a job, you just
all the irrational things.
Yeah, it's very irrational, but you think like, you worry, for their future, just like when anything's wrong. We all want our kids to have like perfectly, perfect lives that don't have any adversity, but that's just really unrealistic, so
for sure. Yes, I get it.
We all know. It's like now we have 4 adults.
Our life is perfect. We expect them to be perfect too.
You just don't want anything to weigh them down. So I know it's so unrealistic.
Yeah, it is. So let's talk a little bit about, I mean, I guess for people listening, what did you do to make it, once Maddie was like, I don't want to do this anymore, you guys had to come to a point where you're like, okay, now what are we going to do? How can we help her in a way that's going to make this experience better, not only for her, but you kind of started with you guys and then you kind of branched out. And so, I'd love to hear a little bit about that, kind of that decision-making process.
Well, I mean, after all the silliness of wearing a hat and getting the hat off and having her feel comfortable, once we got to the point where she felt comfortable, I think Betsy pretty much picked up the ball and just ran with getting a support group together. And, she reached out to people that we found on social media, which was brand new to us. And she made the connections with people that were maybe about 30, 40 miles away from us. And that's how it really started.
And the other big thing was educating her school. So Jeff went in and spoke, we have the infamous Thanksgiving. You tell that story because you tell
it. like September was horrible because she's losing her hair. October, I mean,
No, yeah.
no, September, she starts school. October, we go to a wedding.
Yeah. and
She
then
looks like a
lost her hair.
princess.
Yeah.
Has her hair in braids. We take the braids out, lots of hair falling out, and then it just starts falling out. We go to the doctor, basically everything we already spoke about. And then November was a critical time because the kindergarten class, they did a play for the rest of the school where half the kids would dress up as pilgrims and make pilgrim hats. And the other half, they were American Indians, and they wore, these headdresses they put together. And Maddie was the one that was wearing a headdress, and she's wearing a hat, and so are all the other kids. The school let all the kids wear a hat, and that was cool because we thought, oh, we got this made. But when they were done making their hats and their headdresses, they were going to try them on. Well, all the kids that were wearing hats just took their hats off and put their headdress on and their pilgrim hat. And Maddie was like, I don't want to take my hat off because then they're going to see my bald head. So she had to put her headdress on over her hat. And I think that was like the beginning, because she came home and she was really sad. And every time she was sad, we obviously always thought it was because of the alopecia, and it was usually about something else. But this time it was about the alopecia, and it wasn't something that she did or anyone else did. It's what we did to her. We told her to wear this hat, and she said that the headdress looks dumb over the hat. And she said she never wanted to wear these stupid hats in the first place. So that was like, I'm father of the year because I'm the one that told her to wear the hats, and she never wanted to wear them.
Yeah.
So after we were able to do some techniques to get her comfortable, that's when Betsy pretty much took over and got.
Well, you went in and talked to the kindergarten.
Well, yeah, I'm talking to kindergartners. It was kind of hard. I was telling them about boo-boos and white blood cells, and I had no idea how to talk to them. And at the end of the day, when she took her hat off, all the kids just wanted to show me their boo-boos. They weren't really that concerned with her hair loss. Right. And I think the main reason was because it's a small school. And I don't think they really grasped. I don't know what. We're blessed because she was never made fun of in kindergarten, and every year in school she was never teased or ignored or anything. So we lucked out, and I think it was because we were lucky in the beginning because she was young, and then we started to find all these other families, which made it feel normal for her. So Betsy, I mean, when she hooked us up with all these other people in the beginning, it just made it easier when you are with other people.
Totally.
Yeah, that helped a lot. Yeah. And then we also educated the school by writing letters to parents, which is, an important thing for people to do.
Yeah.
Because I just think education and awareness is when the kids know why she doesn't have any hair, then they're less likely to,
And that makes a huge difference at all schools. If the kids know why, then they're either going to feel silly making fun of someone, or they're going to be perceived as silly because it's like, why are you making fun of them? Because we all know what it is.
We all know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Knowledge is power, right? I mean,
That
if
sure
you
is.
have it, then there's no longer those questions. And that is a big piece of that is what you guys do. I mean, Jeff, especially you're going into schools, and that kind of seemed to be something that felt very just the right fit for you, right? After years, and you guys did camps, and then you were like, I've got to start doing these visits because these kids were struggling, individual kids in schools were struggling, and you were going into the schools and just educating not only their classroom, but sometimes the entire school.
Right. And and that's just, those are just two parts, the camps and the schools. What we really wanted to do was actually something that you're doing right now with the roadmap. I mean, that is, it's essential because I wish you were around doing the Alopecia Roadmap back then, because we would have found you would have been able to learn all of this stuff and be able to do these exercises to like feel better about ourselves, that we aren't the ones that are doing anything wrong. We're just crazy parents It's not our fault,
Mhm.
and our kids are normal. And so everything that you're doing is exactly what, just through osmosis, we did. And it's the easiest thing to do because it's all common sense.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to me that you guys, when you took the course, I mean, and everybody listening, I'm like, hey, you guys, can you do this and tell me what you think? Because I really needed kind of your guys' validation to know that I had kind of designed it in the right direction. And the reason I designed the Alopecia Roadmap was because I was hearing the same things over and over, right? The big ones were about school. What do we do about school? How do we introduce this? What do we do about bullying? I mean, what are the resources available? And from the time when I was diagnosed to Maddie, that's a 20-year age gap. And I've been hearing from people with these 20-year age gaps, and people today, there's some people tuning in right now who have, their daughters or their sons or grandchildren have been diagnosed, and they're like, what do? We don't know where these resources are. And so it's really lucky that they have found you guys. I think that's the best thing, is going, hey, let's get these kids to camp. Let's connect them with one other kid who has alopecia, and that can make a world of difference, especially in the beginning. And I think it's for the parents too, and grandparents, right? I mean, that's what it's all about.
I think it's the parents that I think overall the parents have a tougher time with this because, like I said before, they have no control over it. And, we do, well, all parents, we do a horrible job, but we also do an awesome job. And it's just a matter of finding that balance there. So if you're doing a horrible job and you want to do a better job, sometimes you just can't do it. You need to learn how to do it. And I think with alopecia, like I said earlier, it's just knowledge. And if you learn something and you know that feels like the right thing to do, and you do it and it works, then it was the right thing. But unless you have something out there that shows you, you're just going to just make errors until you find something that works. And why go through that? Just do it faster and just get the help that you need.
Yeah. And that's what I felt with the roadmap as I was putting it together. I thought, you know what, if we can abbreviate this stretch of time where people are learning, and they're not doing it wrong. You're not doing it wrong. You're not doing it, in all these kind of wonky ways. There's more resources for you to gather information and to take the tools and to use them to benefit what's going on in your life. And I've heard, I took some seasoned parents through about 6 to 9 months ago and said, hey, what do you think of this? And some of them learned something new, which was cool. And at the end, I asked them, how long did it take you to learn all of these things, that we cover in the Alopecia Roadmap? And they were like, it took me 5 to 8 years. That was the average amount of time. And oh my gosh, right? I mean, if we could learn this in, by listening for an hour and a half, and I'm not saying that you're going to learn everything. This is like a guide, and this is a how-to, it's a how-to guide on how to do these things and navigate these big questions that come up, and to kind of come from a place of sitting in a place of ease versus fear. And if I can help them do that, then that's just perfect for me. So
well, and it does, because you're putting links to places to go, to different organizations. And the thing is, everything that you did is, the way I look at it, everything complements something else. It's not just, well, this is just the Alopecia Roadmap show. No, it's, you put other organizations in there, because all of these organizations, even though you might think that they're all the same, they're different, and they all of them complement each other.
Yeah.
And when you just go in one direction, put it this way, anyone that's listening, if you're just following CAP, then you're not getting the most out of your experience with alopecia. You need to go to NAP. You need to do this course and go to Alopecia Life and go to the UK and to the Australia. You need to go to all of them, and then you'll see everyone is pretty much the same. And we all serve different purposes in our community, but we're all serving the community. And what's that saying about you're more powerful
Together.
all together than just by yourself, right?
That sounds good.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Usually,
I don't know
I come
what
up with my own. I come up with my
Yeah,
own
that
crazy
might be one that
quotes
you
that make
made
no
up.
sense. So I don't. But anyway, it's better to have more than less.
Right.
I didn't make that up. I don't think.
Yeah. And throughout the course, we just cover these big topics, right? I mean, you're talking about school. School's the biggest one in there because it's the biggest concern that comes up for people. And I do have, my Alopecia 101 free course, which is basically module 1 in the main Alopecia Roadmap course. And it talks about what alopecia is, and it talks about autoimmunity, because I've been hearing over the years that a lot of people are like, hey, I don't even know what this is. My doctor just said my kid has this, and now we're wondering what an autoimmune condition is, right? And so I thought it was really important to kind of get that information out there and just kind of say, yeah. And then, covering things like family dynamics and again, school and how to talk to your doctor, how to ask the
But
right
you know what?
questions.
The one thing that I thought was really good about it. I mean, there's lots of things that are good, but like when I started it, I was going through it and I was thinking, all right, well, I'm a know-it-all. I'm Mr. Cap. I know all this stuff. But what I was thinking at the beginning was, well, I know this, I know this, I know this. And then as I was going, I was thinking, yeah, I know all of this, or I know what most people would say. But what it was doing is it was kind of like, it was training me to like paint by numbers. Like you see what the picture is going to look like on the cover. So you know what it looks like. And then you get this white piece of paper and then you have 1, 2, 3, and then you get the paints and then you color them. That's what I felt like it was. It was like, yeah, I know this is blue. It's the sky. So here we go, blue. So even though I know it's
how to do
right,
it. Yeah.
but then something else later on, it would make me think about the blue sky. And does that make sense? It was making sense to me as I went along. So everything that I knew or thought I knew, it was just complementing everything. So it just was like, oh, this is cool because this is going to help everyone.
Right. We all have things we could learn from.
Right.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, I still think I'm learning, I've had this for 40 years and
Yeah,
I do think that, my perspective is from someone who has alopecia, but someone who also, I mean, I'm not sure if my mom's tuning in, she wanted to, but she would say, I mean, she is just like my biggest cheerleader. And she would say, oh my gosh, I wish we had this. Right. And you guys were saying the same thing. And that just made me feel great. So I mean, that's the reason I do it. And I do it every day because, listening to these same things over and over.
Right.
And
just simplifies the process.
It does. Yeah.
And I think it was needed because there might be other things like what you do, but there's nothing else like this.
That's so thorough.
Right. I mean, it's you take
all the pieces.
You take everything, all the different dynamics of alopecia, siblings and parents and family members and friends, and you're putting it into a logical, chronological order, and you're asking questions, and then you're asking the person that's going through it to answer some of the things. And it's like, I remember at the beginning, I was actually answering them, and then I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't be answering them. And then I just stopped doing it. But I looked at all of them, and I was thinking, my gosh, I don't even know how I can answer this because it's tough for me to answer it now.
Yeah, right. No, but it takes you to the next thing.
Yeah. And the reason that I asked for people to kind of interact with that is because I do want them to not feel alone, right? I mean, I think that as your child's diagnosed, if you've never, how many times do we hear, each of us, that I never even knew what alopecia was, right?
Right.
Before it happened to us. And so that is a big piece where people are just feeling so lonely in their kind of alopecia existence, and their family doesn't understand. So we give you the tools to do that too, to help your family understand and to set boundaries with them so that they can not overstep, right? And send you
Right.
10 ugly wigs in the mail if your child doesn't want to wear a wig.
Right.
Right.
So yeah. So that's kind of the
Well,
goal.
you just think, I mean, especially with wigs, you just automatically think, well, you know, they had hair. Hair is normal. Hair makes you pretty. You lose your hair, get a wig. Put the head wig on, you have hair. You look pretty. When that's not even close to what the answer should be. The answer is so much more than just putting a wig on. And you know, it's important what you're doing, I guess is what I'm really trying to say, because like I said, I'm jealous because I wish I would have had the tools to be able to do that, because we've been talking about it for 18 years about how dermatologists should be doing more of this kind of stuff, where the nurses should be, they should have more information and ask more questions. We sent out 14,000 letters to dermatologists. We got 3 answers, and it was basically just to start a conversation that as soon as you go in, there should be the first question and the second question and the third question, and it should be that way in every office. And then you give them the options.
Right. Then you give them the roadmap.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and that was
people
the
are still,
idea.
yeah, and people are still finding us for the first time. They're like, we never knew you existed.
Right.
And they're doing the same thing with NAF. So the 2 largest organizations in the world, there are so many people that have no idea we exist.
Yeah.
Well, people need to know.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, people who are listening, they also, something that we should probably talk about briefly too, is that you often hear from family members or friends, well, at least it's not cancer, right? I mean, you hear that all the time. And so I think it's really important to grieve the loss of our hair, and as parents to grieve the loss of your child's hair. It's like you said, the stages of grief are real, and to have that validated, because it is loss, it is sadness, it's all the things, it's blaming yourselves. I mean, just like you were saying, Betsy. I think that as parents, we go deep into those dark places and go, what if I could have done something different? What if I would have done this? What if I wouldn't have done that?
Right.
And I think it's just normal to do that. And so the roadmap, I think, you know, it gets you kind of out of that place of darkness and goes, okay, now what can I do? Right. And I'm not sitting there telling you what to do. I'm saying, you know, dig into the pieces of you, of who you are, right? And find out what you want and how you want to do it. And I give you the tools to do that, because I'm not here to say, well, you should just do it this way.
Next week, there's a couple of things that I'll be, I don't keep up with the website like I should, but there's a couple of new pages that I'm going to put on. And one of them is going to be a page devoted specifically to the roadmap, because if people are going to find us for the first time, I want people to know that, you know, it's knowing about us is great, but there's a first step that you have to do. If the dermatologist is going to tell you what that first step is, then this is a perfect first step. And then you can come back to the website and go ahead and search all over the place. Because if you do that, you're doing things more in order. Now I'm going to steal it from you. I'm going to call it my thing, because, you know, I've been wanting to do it forever. But I just think that's important to do. And I just wish more doctors out there would not worry about the medicine and the wigs as much as they should really be worrying about the child and the family.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a cliche when I say it all the time. It's like, we just care about the kids with alopecia. We're not, I don't care about the alopecia and the kids. NAF worries about the alopecia and the kids, and they should go out there and raise money to hopefully find a cure, or send the money to doctors to find a cure. I just think that what they do is great, and what we do is great. We both serve the same community. But I think it's more important for them to come to us first, so that way their kids know that they are perfect and original and different and normal. Now go out there and do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, I mean, and a big part of the roadmap is saying, you know what, there's this, and then definitely always ask your child. You can have your child be a part of this process from the time they are 13 months old. I mean, it doesn't even have, they don't need to be 9, 13 to be telling you what they want. And I think the maturity level, it definitely varies on how you talk to them about it, of course. But yeah, I remember at camp in California, someone was talking about, a cure or something, or, hey, let's try this. And the little girl said, yeah, let's do it. And then they actually didn't convey to her that if you stop taking this medication, your hair might fall out. Like that wasn't something that a child of this age could understand. And so I thought that was really interesting, because you're asking your child and she's like, yeah, but the maturity level of a 7-8-year-old, they don't quite understand that. So it's something that you kind of have to really, it's multi-layered, and you just, but asking your child, I think that for me and mom and dad, if you're listening, they know that they would have done things different had they just asked me. So, it would have been different. And I had a great life. I'm not complaining about that. It's just things would have been a little bit easier in school, right, with my peers. So, and so this is why I do what I do, to kind of reflect on that experience and to keep going, okay, let's keep making this better and better for each family that gets diagnosed, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think we were oblivious from September until December. And then, when we decided that we were going to do something, it changed everything, because we were in charge of trying to do something that would make a difference, not knowing what we were doing. I just remember she gave me permission to, like, when she was doing the support groups, and then I'm like, we have people from all over the place. Maybe we should start a support group. I mean, a nonprofit. And I remember when I said that, she looked at me like I was nuts. It's like, we have little girls. Your job is nonstop, because I was a nursing home administrator at the time, and like, we're gonna start a nonprofit, and I'm like, yeah, we are. And she's like, okay, go ahead. And I'm like, you're giving me permit? Are you serious? And it was, truthfully, we never looked back. And our passion and our desire to do what we're doing, it's never changed. I remember my mother-in-law, she said, well, what happens if Maddie grows her hair back? And I'm like, well,
I remember that.
Then she grows her hair back.
Well, because she did grow it back for a little, and we were like, oh my gosh, now we just started this thing.
And
but then it didn't really matter.
Yeah, she wanted to know, well, am I still going to do this? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this, because I don't want other parents to feel the way we felt. I think I make fun of myself. I'm half Italian and half Polish, so sometimes I get really angry and pig-headed, and I don't know why. And it's just, I have that mentality that if I want to do something, I just do it, and I don't have an option of not doing it. It's just, I just do it. And if it doesn't work, then I go to the next thing.
Well,
if plan A doesn't work, there's 25 more letters in the alphabet.
Well, let's talk about those numbers, right? I mean, it started with you guys in your living room with your small support group. And now, that was, you could count it on probably one hand how many people were there. And now it's grown to become what? How big, and how great of an impact are you making?
Yeah, it's actually, we're sitting at the first place. Like, remember the Reading Eagle came in, they took a picture. We were sitting right here.
Right.
So the first time, and we had no idea that any of this was going to happen. I remember when we were thinking of the name, I wanted the Children's Alopecia Network, and I just drew a picture. If you know what the Cap Kid looks like, it was a little girl like that with a skirt and half of her hair just waving. And she looked at it and she goes, well, how about Children's Alopecia Project? And when she said that, I'm like, come on, I know marketing. that's dumb. We don't want children's alopecia
Rude.
project. And she's like, yeah, Cap. I'm like, Cap. Cap. And then we gave it to her, a coworker of hers who's a graphic artist, and I just gave him the picture of Children's Alopecia Network with the little girl, and he just changed the little girl into
A cat kid.
what's that called? Yeah, Cap kid, and the project, and it's exactly what I came up with, but he made it totally different just
Yeah,
by making it.
just more simplified. Yeah.
And that's when I knew it was going to work. And then we just found all these people, and I guess we should have did a better job in the beginning keeping records, but we never thought this was going to take off.
Yeah.
And
So
yeah,
in the beginning, we just had like the first support group. I think we had 4 kids, and we would just go to this gym, and the kids would play, and the parents would talk, and and then a couple of years in, I think in maybe 2007, we decided to have a camp, but it wasn't alopecia. It was just a small camp.
it was like a day camp.
It was like 25 people came all together.
But it was awesome because we had people from Jersey and Maryland and Delaware,
Boston.
and Boston.
Yeah.
And here we are in Pennsylvania. We're thinking,
Yeah.
wow.
That was shocking to us that people would come that far. But then from there, in 2009, we started Alopecia Palooza in a hotel, which was
Don't recommend it.
Yeah, not a great. But we walked away from that with people saying that it was life changing, and that and there were lots of things that weren't the way. We just had kids in a room playing like it, and speakers that we had never met before speaking. There were so many things we could have done better, but it was the start of something. And then the next year we moved it to a camp, and that worked out about half of the kinks just by moving it to a camp. And then, every year we would learn something that worked better. And then Jeff, when Jeff took over, he started traveling and visiting schools, which is not my forte. So, little by little, we've just, we really never had any intention that it was going to grow this big, but obviously we're really glad that it did.
We never did a business plan. We never did a marketing. We never had any plans for anything. We just wanted to help whoever wanted help. And by helping them, and when I say by helping them, we're not helping them. I wanted them to come so they would help me. And by helping me, they are thinking, man, Jeff really helped us. It's like, no, just being together and talking about things.
That's half the battle, just meeting each other.
Yeah.
And that's why the camps are so successful, because the kids get to bond together. The parents get to bond. You get to meet other kids. Then when we bring in the adults like you into the fray, now the kids get to see people that they can look up to. The parents can see the potential of what could be from their kids. And then it helps you guys because you get to see all these little people, and you get to say, I wish this was around when I was little. It's like, it helps everyone. And what did we really do? We didn't do anything.
Right.
We're just getting people together, and we're getting great programming, great speakers.
Yeah, having the speakers, is a huge, it says a lot to the parents, and it's great role models for the kids.
Yeah.
So
Which is like so much of why when I put together Head On Stories of Alopecia, I was like, there's no resources out there. There's no books. There's no people on TV that are being seen in a positive light. And so when you have these mentors come in and parents can see them and kids can see them, I mean, like you can just see them go, oh, look at, there's a big person with what I have, right? And we come in all different shapes and forms, and all different versions of alopecia too, right? I mean, we've some have alopecia areata or totalis or universalis, and we all we're all coming together to be like part of this big effort to make the experience that much better for the next family. So
I remember exactly. I'm not going to say any names, but I remember we would get an Olympic gold medal winner. We would have an actor, an actress. And I remember one time we asked a normal person, and she's like, I'm just a housewife. I'm like, yeah, but you're an exceptional housewife. Every time we have an adult with alopecia, they seem to be exceptional at what they do.
Right.
And I'm not saying that, well, if you have alopecia, you will be exceptional.
You'll be awesome.
But you can be.
But you can be,
You can be.
if that's what you choose to do.
Right.
And we really got lucky with the adults that are involved with us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The messaging that comes across every alopecia palooza, we felt like there was a different message, and people would say, do you tell your speakers what to talk about? Because one year it would be like, use your difference to make a difference, or alopecia is a gift.
One time it was about dating. It seemed like everyone was talking about dating in high school. It's like,
but there was always like a theme that ran across all of them. And and
we never wanted to like dictate. We never want,
yeah.
I think we just don't want to set the narrative. We want to get everyone together, and what's going to happen. Like last year was more controversial at Alopecia Palooza than other years, because there were more confident people speaking. And some of the parents saw that confidence and looked at it as if it was a negative being reflected back to them. Like they're not getting it. I don't think it was meant as that way, but it was just that our choice is not to do the treatments. And it's not a negative reflection on anyone. It's just, this is what the speakers decide to talk about.
Right. It's very real and from the heart.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be uncomfortable sometimes.
Right. Well, I think as parents, we're looking for this guidance, right, to help our children be the best versions of themselves, or be, they are already, and they're just becoming more of themselves. And, if there can be other people in the same position, with the same condition that can shed some light on something, I think sometimes it's uncomfortable, like you said. And, and that within the roadmap too, I'll say his name, Anthony Kerrigan. I had Anthony,
I think we just broke a copyright or something.
I just said it. He willingly, he had put a post up on the parents of children with alopecia page several years ago, and I loved it. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to say this. And you guys saw it in the, he gave me a video just saying what his feelings were about it. And I think it comes from a really good place, and it also is easier to handle from a celebrity. So, there's the cameo appearance that he gives, and he willingly does it because he wants to help the kids, right? And the parents, of course, but he's coming from a
genuinely
really great place. And I did that with other aspects of it. I asked parents to, contribute their letters, like you were talking about, for school, that really are beneficial. So I reached out to several that I knew were really good, that had been kind of running through the support pages and saying, hey, would you like to contribute that to it? And so I think that having the parents and the community kind of give life to this roadmap also, it was really important.
The sample letters that we have on our website, they're not ours. They're real letters that other parents did 15 years ago, which it's still the same.
All you do is modify their age and their interests, right? So it's great to have those tools, and to have people go to your website, go to my website. I had people last year saying, oh, do you have, actually my cousin reached out and said, do you have a video where you're talking about alopecia, so that I can share it with my classroom? She actually had 2 kids in her middle school with it, and one was being completely ostracized. He was walking around with his head down and not looking at people in his classroom. And she's like, can you make me a video? And I thought, yeah, I could do that. And so I made kind of a very specific video for him, with, their demographics of where they lived and things like that. But I made it kind of on a larger scale, because why not have that resource out there, right? I mean, and so people can access it and share it with their classroom. And I think that anytime that we feel like there's a need, or somebody says, do you have this, and you don't, then I'm like, yeah, let's make it. So, and I think that that's the best thing about this community is people really rise up and do share their experience and want to help. Yeah.
Well, I don't think you know this, but if you remember that you sent me like a video months ago, it was, I don't think it's one of the videos that you have. I think it was like just something that you did.
Okay.
It had the black and white photos.
Right.
And when I can't speak at a school, I send them like, it's a 9-minute condensed version of my presentation. And I send them that. And I also send them that that video
cool.
that you did, because it's a totally different
angle.
It's a totally different vibe, because I'm just telling what my story is and about being different and brave. And then you're like, with your radio voice, just calming and soothing everybody. It's like, just keep talking, Deanne.
That's very sweet of you. But yeah, so I think we're getting close to the end of our time here. Let me look at my clock. Oh, yep, we've got 5 more minutes. So I do want to let people know that you can sign up for the roadmap. You can also sign up for the free Alopecia 101 course to get familiar with it. And I didn't discuss this with you guys months ago when we were talking about, would you like to, support the page or whatever. And I said, I would like to give something back to CAP. And so with every person that buys this course, that purchases this course, I give $25 to you guys so that you can help support, to get kids to camp, because I find that is probably one of the most important pieces of this diagnosis, is getting kids to an environment where they feel welcome, where they don't feel alone, and the parents can be there to share in this experience with other people who get it. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest things, like you mentioned, how when your mentors and speakers come, they get so much from it. And I remember the first Alopecia Palooza that I went to, and I thought, oh my gosh, if I could have had this, right? And it's like, I appreciate you guys saying that about the roadmap too, because it's kind of a nice meeting of what we do. So
well, I mean, I think, and thank you, that's very generous.
Thank you very much.
I think well, I was going to tell everybody to do the free one, but now I'm going to tell them to do the one where they can. No, the truth is, if you're nervous about doing the full version, you definitely have to do the free one, because I think if you do the free one, you're going to be curious about, wow, that was really good stuff. I want more good stuff. And at the end of the day, I think, people, I'm always worried about like charging people to go to camp. The kids are free. The mentors, when they're speaking at Alopecia Palooza, are free. But when it comes to the parents, I feel horrible even having to charge them. And the thing is, it is so inexpensive in the big scheme of things. And I think they get so much out of it, which is why we get so many people coming back, that the cost, it's invaluable. I mean, it's not even, it shouldn't even be a suggestion. And if anybody can afford it, contact me, because we'll make it affordable. I mean, I think everyone should do this course, because knowledge is king. If everybody has the knowledge of all these different things, they can make better educated decisions. And that's just the truth. And it's what everyone should be doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah. And I just want to thank you guys again for being here. And, you get so much with the roadmap too. And we have community hours and things like that. So we're in discussion about certain topics, as people go through the course and questions come up. We have live courses. We also have guests. And so that's kind of fun too. You guys will probably be a guest one of these times. I'll have to ask you more officially, but I think it's
I just want to talk about my analogies and stuff. So.
But yeah, I think that the more people who know about you guys and who know about the roadmap, and anybody can come to my website to check out the resources that I have available, and they are all for free. So, as much as I can, I like to give back to the community. And if you're looking for something, I can probably fabricate that for you. So
that is true.
Yeah. So thanks again so much. And
thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the.
You're welcome. I enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
we're really happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, you guys have a good night. And I want to say thanks for all the people that were hanging in there. Amy and Lori and Kelly and my mom. Hi, Mom. And Tammy, you guys all like commented, and I didn't quite get to Jason and Lindsay. Thanks for tuning in and for commenting. I'll kind of cover those as when we get off the live. So thanks.
And
again.
then if you get us the link to the to this, we'll make sure that we put it on the page that I'm going to be developing for you, and then we'll put it on social media and make sure that everybody has a chance to watch it.
Thank you. Thanks so much, you guys.
You're welcome.
Okay, Stan.
Yeah,
Okay.
have a good night.
Night. Okay.
Bye.